Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
In a week that's been dominated by talks of Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Bob Arum, Eddie Hearn, lest we forget, we have a potential Fight of the Year candidate on this weekend. Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez, Undisputed. It's criminal that this fight has gone under the radar. It's criminal that this fight isn't on a major platform in the UK. Like, it's on Fight TV, which is subscription based. I think it's a tenner for the month. It's not that bad, you know. But there are major platforms like BT Sport. You know, there's free to air like Channel 5, ITV. They used to do boxing a bit, and obviously Sky Sports. And none of them would take this fight, an undisputed fight. You know, Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez. It's a great fight. I'm going to give my 2 cents on this fight. Going to give what I think both fighters need to do, and I'm going to give my prediction. Now, right off the bat, this is a razor close fight. It's a razor close fight. Both guys are number 1 and number 2 in the division, respectively. Some people may say Regis Prograis, but I think that Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez, it is a meeting of 1 and 2. 2 best in the division. Will have Undisputed at 140. The last person to do that was Terence Crawford, alright, a couple of years ago against Ndongo. So, Undisputed, both guys, fan-friendly styles. You know, Josh Taylor is the more complete out of the two, I would say. Actually, Josh Taylor's the older. Right, he's older by about 2 years. I actually thought Jose Ramirez was in his mid-30s. He's only 28. It's amazing. For some reason, I just assumed he was older. Now, Ramirez has the reach advantage on Josh Taylor, but Ramirez never uses it. Josh Taylor is more complete. Josh Taylor can pressure effectively. He can fight. He's very good at mid-range. Mid-range would be Josh Taylor's kind of realm of comfort. You know, he's a decent southpaw jab, but realistically, when you see him mid-range, he's got very good upper body movement, very good head movement, throws a lot of body punches, and he varies it up. You know, he's looking to counter in there at mid-range. You go back and look at the O'Hara Davis fight. O'Hara Davis, obviously in hindsight, looking back, we can say O'Hara Davis was, you know, he was hyped a lot. I think we all bought into that a bit. But O'Hara Davis has very long arms. I was able to dictate the range, right? It was trying to anyway. Had no success against Josh Taylor because Josh Taylor brought into close range and into mid-range. And once it was there, it was all Josh Taylor's fight. He's very good at doing that. You know, he was very good against Regis Prograis, getting in there at mid-range, getting in there and letting body shots go. The problem with Josh Taylor is, I think late on in the fight, he does tend to fade a bit. Like when he fought Regis Prograis, the 10th round was arguably Josh Taylor's best round in the fight. And the last 2 rounds, when you thought maybe Josh Taylor could step on the gas and maybe, you know, drop Regis Prograis, the last 2 rounds, Prograis took back over. Josh Taylor does tend to fade a little bit late on in the fight, and he is susceptible to pressure. Now, when Prograis pressured him, Prograis was able to give good pressure to Josh Taylor with good punching power and decent head movement. Jose Ramirez, whilst he is a pressure fighter, he's not as sophisticated as Regis Prograis. You don't see as much head movement from Regis Prograis, and he can be outboxed as we saw against Victor Postal. In fights like that, what Ramirez does is he adapts, but he adapts very late. Alright? So against Victor Postal, he was happy for the first part of that fight to just chase him around the ring. Just walk around the ring, looking to land body punches. And to be fair, early on in that fight, if you go back and watch it, he was made to look silly with some of the swings. He really, truly was. I mean, there was a point in that fight where he swung to, I think was looking for a body shot, and he was Victor Postal just moved. And, you know, Jose Ramirez was way all over the place. So that's the difference there. Taylor, as I said, very good at mid-range. Can fight at long range as well when he wants. Alright? But primarily he would go at mid-range. Josh Taylor, one of his weaknesses is that he likes to get into a tear-up. When he's in a fight, sometimes red mist can descend on Josh Taylor and he goes for the jugular, which is good. You know, we like seeing that. But he leaves himself susceptible. And one thing about Josh Taylor that I notice is that he is susceptible to body shots. Alright, when he comes in, he tends to kind of hunch over, especially when he's jabbing, and leaves his body very opened. Jose Ramirez is one of the best body punchers, if not the best, at 140. His body punches, his body attacks are lethal. So if he's leaving his body open in this fight, Jose Ramirez is going to have an absolute field day, especially with the left hook to the body, which against the southpaw, we saw with what Canelo Alvarez, the success he had with Billy Joe Saunders. And Billy Joe Saunders is similar. He kind of would, similar to an extent, but I think Billy Joe was kind of more, he was leading a little bit more than Taylor normally does. So I think Taylor might not be as susceptible, but believe you me, Jose Ramirez is a very good body puncher. Jose Ramirez's right hand as well, it's a very underrated, but there's a lot of things Jose Ramirez does that a lot of people underestimate. You know, that right hand that he throws a very good overhand right. If you go back and look at his fight with Maurice Hooker, that to me was probably his most complete performance, and I think he done a better job on Hooker than Virgil Ortiz did. And Maurice Hooker is very big, very long at the weight, 80-inch reach, much longer than Josh Taylor's. In fact, actually, Ramirez has the longer reach in this fight. But he was able to nullify what Maurice Hooker was doing by just effective pressure and body punching. Maurice Hooker was like a fish out of water. All right, the right hands were bothering Hooker, but the left hook, when it landed, that closed the show. And it was very quick and very sudden when he closed the show against Hooker, but devastating. You know, definitely Jose Ramirez can punch. I don't know if he hits quite as hard as Regis Prograis, remains to be seen, but he's not feather-fisted. All right, and I think that Josh Taylor is going to want to watch out for his hooks to the body and hooks to the head, and he can vary it up very well to the head and body. I've seen him do that in several fights where he'll go to the head, go to the body, and he'll vary it up. So Josh Taylor's want to be on point, because he may get a shot to the body, may come down for a body shot, and he could come straight back up with a head shot. And as I said, both his right hand and left hook are no joke. Another thing that people underestimate about Jose Ramirez is his jab. He is a pressure fighter. He is. He's not going to come out box on the back foot. That's just not him. But when he has had to jab in fights, remember, this was a guy who was a good amateur. He was schooled very well, and his jab is very, very on point. It's a very good jab, very snappy jab as well. So when he uses that jab, Jose Ramirez, he's got a lot of success in it. All right, I think what he's going to want to be doing is he is going to want to be waiting for Josh Taylor to maybe commit with his jab or overcommit with some shots. He'll be looking to counter punch to the body, right? He's not going to have to go looking for Josh Taylor the way he had to go looking for Victor Postal, the way he had to go looking for Jose Zepeda. It's not going to be like that, right? Josh Taylor is going to he's probably going to try and keep this at mid-range, right? I think maybe Josh Taylor's best bet in this fight would be to keep it at, a distance if he can, all right? But mid-range to long range for Josh Taylor. At mid-range is where Taylor, as I said, does his good work, but he's going to be susceptible to some of Jose Ramirez's counters. And then, during the mid-rounds, that's when I can see maybe Taylor deciding to maybe go and fight fire with fire. In which case, we really will see a fight break out. This is why I say, stylistically, when I look at these guys, they both complement each other. And I think that this has the makings to, well, I think on paper it has the makings to be fight of the year, and I think it will be. And I think that what we might see Josh Taylor early on nick a couple of rounds, a couple of the early rounds. We might see Ramirez maybe warm into it, just kind of see what Josh Taylor's like, maybe get used to kind of some of the things he's doing, and maybe after even only about 3 or 4 rounds, we'll see him come on and really be starting to land some good body shots, get Josh Taylor up again the ropes. We've seen him do that with several. When he gets fighters up again the ropes, he really does let off combinations. He really does let some of those shots go. So I think that definitely for Ramirez, that's what he's going to be doing. And after a while, I think this is going to be fought, in a phone booth at some stage. I can easily see that happening, because Josh Taylor, although I don't think he should, I think it plays into Ramirez's strengths. It's that red mist that Josh Taylor has. We've seen it several times where he just wants to go in and have a brawl. That, again, sometimes it's not to his best interest. And in this fight, I don't think it will be. I think he's better off just staying at long range to mid range. But knowing Josh Taylor as I do, that's how it's probably going to be. In terms of coaches, well, we know Jose Ramirez, Garcia, great coach. This is official. Although Ben Davison has officially had a fight with Josh Taylor, when he fought the Thai guy back in September, that was a 1-round blowout. We didn't get to see Josh Taylor in any kind of crisis. We didn't get to see if he needed some good advice from the corner. Now, Ben Davison, as a trainer, right, from a pure boxing perspective, he knows a lot about boxing. He's very well educated. He really knows what he's talking about in there. But it's one thing to go on a big screen on BT and explain how this fighter does this, this fighter does this. It's another thing to get all that into your fighter's head, right? And with everything that's been going on with Ben Davison and Mark Tibbs, I wonder is Ben Davison. It should be, but that's just that little thought in my head. Is he going to be focused on Josh Taylor, or is he focused on everything else that's going on? I think that Ben Davison, a good trainer as he is, and I genuinely believe he is a good trainer. I think he's got a very good boxing brain. I think he understands the game. I think that he really does know how to read a fight. I think if there's one criticism I have him, is that he's just too camera happy. He's too happy to go on camera and stick his nose in certain things. I just leave that out. Focus on your fight, especially when you have a fight coming. Just focus on that. So that's one thing I have to think about with Josh Taylor. Having said that, this is going to be a competitive fight. If anyone thinks this is going to be an easy win for Josh Taylor, easy win for Ramirez, no way. I have to give a prediction on this fight. There is one thing that worries me, right, is that if Josh Taylor gets to the end and he's one more round, will he get the decision? And I asked that question. Jose Ramirez has been with Bob Arum since day dot. When we have fans, he's a big ticket seller. Josh Taylor has been with Frank Warren long enough to have a cup of coffee with him. In the US, I would imagine Josh Taylor is not well known. In the UK, he doesn't get the credit he deserves, apart from in Scotland. So for Bob Arum, bear in mind this is in-house, but financially and from a fan's perspective, it works out better for Ramirez to win this fight. I wonder, will there be some political sway? There will be fans in attendance. There'll be a small number of fans. There will be fans in attendance. I would imagine the majority of them, if not the bulk of them, will be Ramirez fans. So you got to wonder about that. I have to give a prediction on this fight. My pick for this fight is it's going to be a very close fight, right? This is not going to be a walkover for any man, and I don't see a stoppage in this fight, right? If there's one thing both guys have power, and I believe both guys can hurt one another, but I don't see a stoppage happening in this fight. I think Josh Taylor is going to win this fight on a split decision. I think it's going to be split. I think it could be a legit. I think we could come to Sunday morning where we're saying, he had Ramirez winning, he had Taylor winning, he had a draw. I could see it either way. I think that's the kind of fight it's going to be. I think they're going to look for a winner. I think Josh Taylor's going to nick this fight on points. Would Jose Ramirez winning this fight shock me? Not. I've watched Jose Ramirez for several years. He's always entertained me, and I've always felt, I've been saying this for the longest time, even before this fight was announced, that Jose Ramirez is some people say like, oh yeah, he's slow to adjust and he is an all-out pressure fighter, but he's a fantastic fighter nonetheless, and I believe he'll rise to this occasion. I think Josh Taylor has enough in his tank. I think that Josh Taylor is brilliant without being spectacular. Does everything right without doing anything spectacular, and I think he's going to have enough to win this fight. My pick for this, Josh Taylor on points, split decision. I'm going with split, right? I'm going with a split decision. Right? I think that he's going to have his main success at long range to mid range with his jab. And when it gets close, or when we get into mid range and Josh Taylor's maybe overextending a bit, that's when Ramirez is going to have his success. And if he backs Josh Taylor up against the ropes, Josh Taylor's going to be careful, because Ramirez is lethal. And I think Ramirez, I don't know because I've never been hit by either of them, but in terms of punching power, Prograis is a good puncher. Ramirez, from what I've seen, seems to be as good a puncher too. I don't know who has more brute force, but Ramirez definitely has power. Make no mistake about that. So too does Josh Taylor. I think Josh Taylor's going to win this fight on points. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section. As I said, it's criminal that this fight's not got the kind of hype that it deserves. I was hyped about this when it was announced. I'm still hyped about it now. It's unfortunate that we've had the Canelo Billy Joe Saunders fight in that situation, and then this week we had AJ Fury fall by the wayside. It's unfortunate, but let's take nothing away from this fight. This is a great fight. For my money, the best fight of the year so far has been Chocolatito versus Estrada. This could rival it. I'd hope it does. That's my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section. Lads and lassies, if you could, smash the like button. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already, if you're new to the channel. Maybe give your boy the notification, hit the notification, you could do that as well. Hashtag GMASRocks, gotta get there, all that good stuff. For now, lads and lassies, I'll talk to you. Peace.